Hello, everyone. We are here for part two. Thanks for joining us. Okay. So, Mac and I are here. Annie and I kind of completed part one. Now we're going to part two, which is promoting your district with the securing your greatness part one and two. This time, I think we're going to start off with we had kind of giving you the skeleton, building the bones. So talking about your voice and your brand. Now this is actually the part two of taking action and promoting your district, how to do that, and we're going to give you the tools, show you some examples, and we'll actually complete some activities that are going to be really fun. So grab a pencil or grab, I don't know, your cursor or anything that you can grab to complete these activities. There's so many things that you can use these days to take notes. Okay. And then Mac, do you want to go with why we're here?
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everyone. Great to be back. It's been a year since we've done this webinar, and yeah, Heather and I are stoked. And one reason why I'm really excited to present this alongside Heather is that she just has such practical experience, having worked with the district, having worked on statewide PR campaigns, where getting the messaging out to the community is essential. So just delighted. That's why we're here. We're fired up about this. We love districts. Our entire company is focused just on the most local form of government, which is you. And I think why it's so fun, but also challenging, is that you more than anyone are working with limited budgets, scrappiness. You've got to figure out how to do more with less. Even large districts, they just really have to figure out how to get the messaging across. So it's not easy, but it's so fun, and it's really fun to
Yeah,
kind of
I'm
take this to the level.
Yes, definitely. And I think I came from originally a park and rec, a very small nature center. And I literally, my budget for one program was $40. And then I went to another larger district where, I had a little bit of a meteor budget. But either way, you can have so much fun and you can do a lot of these things for free. And what we're going to cover today is bringing that message to life, tools to promote your work, empowering your team to create content. There's so many fun ways that you can really bring the team together. Sometimes they don't want to dance if you want to do like a dance off, but you can come up with creative ways to really bring everybody together to bring that message to life. And then building confidence in public facing outreach. And we'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end. Your audience. So district promotion isn't just about your residents. This picture was actually made with AI, which which I love. But it's talking about thinking about residents and partner agencies, potential hires that are looking at your website to say, oh, is this like a fun district to work with? Or are they transparent? Are they trustworthy? Do I want to work here? Your social media is going to highlight that. Funders and grantors, local media and civic groups. And if you really look at social media, 71% are more likely to support brands based on their social media presence and video content and their voice and their brand, their tone. And 54% get news from social media, which is very high.
Interestingly, like social media users by generation, breaking this down, the ones who use social media the most may not be who you think. It's not just younger is not always more. It's actually millennials really grew up with its inception and use it extensively. Um, Gen Z is not as fully online with social media as the generation that it followed. Interestingly enough, a little bit less. And we'll get into that and who uses what in a moment. Then Gen X, 50 million, and then 35 in the baby boomer generation. To also dig in a little bit by percentages. But I thought this was interesting. Like everyone thought, oh, Gen Z will catch up, there'll be more. And these populations are roughly the same size. So the adoption's just a little bit different, and it's different types. So if we look at growth rate, interestingly enough, like the fastest growing social media platform is once again Instagram. So it kind of comes and goes. Pinterest has a much relatively lower market share, and so it is speeding up. LinkedIn continues to be the third fastest growing, very healthy, well differentiated. I personally think that LinkedIn is one of the better social media platforms in general because it's so focused and intentional about how it conveys what it does. We have X and Twitter. Interestingly enough, that has taken kind of a hit. It's been sort of up and down due to the political orientation of its owner. And so it's kind of always interesting to see how that's going and growing. Then followed by Snapchat, Facebook, which is practically in decline, and then YouTube. Now, before we go to the next slide, I would like you to guess in chat, if you would, what do you believe is the most popular social media platform?
Mm.
We welcome your guesses. I'll be curious what people think. All right, we've got a guess from Aaron that it's Facebook. Wyatt thinks it's IG, so does Bob. But Wendy got it. It's a little bit of a trick question, but in fact, if you want to go to the next slide, Heather,
Yeah.
the most popular social media platform is actually YouTube. And it's true, Jill, that it does depend on the crowd. Um, but in terms of overall adoption, the largest is in fact YouTube. And this is the Pew Research data. This is some of the best. And what's so fascinating is like YouTube is practically a public utility in the United States. And this is why it has lower growth rates. It's like you can't get many more than, 90% of the US population to do anything. You can't get 90% of people to vote. You can't get 90% of people to pay taxes, but YouTube has gotten 90% of the United States to use it. And if you think about it, you can follow, subscribe, leave comments, like all the things. It's really, really interesting. And people use these things primarily for news, which is just pointed
Mm.
out in chat, Brian, like absolutely. And this is where a lot of people get their information. So then kind of breaking down this, following YouTube is actually Facebook. And Facebook is popular because it has such a broad age range that uses it, primarily older folks. So like what happened was there's a big group of people that went off to college in the millennial population, and then all their parents wanted to follow along, and so they started to follow them on Facebook. That helped kind of grant that initial wave. So it's always far more popular. But as you can see from the graph, Instagram is catching up. Instagram is more popular with younger users, very popular with brands, kind of really depending on what you want to reach. Anyway, and then you go down the list. Pinterest actually, again, continuing to flow above the rest. A lot of people talk about, TikTok is like, oh my gosh, everyone's using it. Yes, that's like very popular in the younger segments. But interestingly enough, like it's not really dominating to the same extent as others. Nextdoor is another, network that a lot of special districts are monitoring. It's a little bit tricky because you don't always get full access, but you can post to it. But sometimes rumors can really take a life of their own in Nextdoor and on that dimension of social media too. So definitely something to think about and consider. But we just wanted to break you down and kind of give you all the facts when you think about reaching your audiences. It's interesting, like if you look at like rural versus urban areas or like on a RUCA score, LinkedIn tends to be really more popular in like metropolitan areas, much less popular in rural areas. Not always surprising, but if you're recruiting, it depends kind of like if you're recruiting for a general manager in a city or a wealthy area, like absolutely you want to use LinkedIn. If you're trying to get an EMT or something in a rural fire area, may not be as much of a choice. So anyway, it's just kind of interesting to see how those get used.
Yeah. In this case, it's good to just pick your channel. So you don't need to be everywhere. It's just based on what you're comfortable with. I do know of a district that has 11 different kind of channels and platforms. And it ended up becoming really overwhelming because they had to create different types of content for all of those platforms. And to think of really being in charge of 11 different platforms I feel like knowing social media, that's a lot to put on a communications department or just it's just everywhere. It can get messy. So it's just having that focus on, okay, here's website news sections. Let's do these monthly newsletters. Let's pick one or two platforms or maybe three, depending on which demographic we're really trying to push more info to local news, events, and district tours. So, really just kind of break it down on where you want your messages, where you think it's appropriate to have your messaging, and what type of messaging to put on those platforms. All of that really kind of needs to you can put out on a grid and decide that together as a team. And content ideas that you can create now that I've already had experience being really beneficial is staff highlight post, behind the scenes, like a day in the life. Did you know posts are very popular and you do the hashtag DYK, very educational, and then community shout outs. And I'm kind of going to break these down a little bit. With staff highlight post, you're not only really appreciating your staff and highlighting the good work that they're doing and all the hard work that goes into your district and the services you provide, but it's also showing that human side of your district and your staff and getting to know the staff. I know for vector control, a lot of the people are out in the community. They're inspectors, they're public sector employees that really communicate with the residents that they're providing the inspections for. So they're actually going door to door and talking to people face to face. And then we would actually have people comment like, "Oh, that's my inspector. That's John Savage. Like I see him all the time, and you guys do great work." So getting that personal feeling of that staff highlight post is great. Behind the scenes day in the life of and then you would, plug in who you're following. Um, that's very beneficial too, just seeing behind the scenes of your district and what you're actually doing. And once again, the hard work that goes into your daily challenges. Um, did you know is really educating your community and your followers on the social media platforms on you can go back in history or say, did you know that we provide um, you know, uh, gutter control for, 3,000 miles of Orange County. You can really kind of break that down in facts and data and make it easy and fun and engaging. Community shout outs, something that, you can do, and I'll just give you an example, is we had community kits and advocate kits, and those people can come and grab them or we'll drop them off. And we gave a community shout out to this neighborhood for making your community safer, and that really felt good that we were shouting out, saying that they were becoming great advocates of their neighborhood and coming together. Those are so easy to put out, and it really gives you that human feel to your district. Something that's easy and really tangible and really easy to organize is creating a monthly theme or something seasonal. So instead of scrambling around, you could do something in lining with services that you provide seasonally, um, you know, during fire season or, during biting season. Library book comes out during the season for the holidays or for Halloween, special events and your district services that can be seasonal. Park and Rec, I know you have a very seasonal calendar when it comes to, winter, spring, summer camp, and really dedicating that to your content calendar. And that can give you a lot of meat and a lot of content to work with. And then a theme gives you that structure and helps you plan ahead with intention. So not just posting anything just to post it, really post with intention. And then we're going to give you some examples. The fire and emergency agencies in action. I really like the Smokey Bear. They're actually texting Smokey Bear for Wildlife Awareness Month. And if you look, this is the Department of Agriculture, Department of Military, and Fire. And then you have the Tennessee Forest Association and Tennessee Wildlife Fire Association with their forestry department collabing. So it's always good to, when those services overlap, and the services that you provide, it's always great to collab and work together on reels and on social media posts to kind of further that education and further your reach. But showing how they're clearing the debris with this they're showing the equipment that they're using behind the scenes for wildlife prep is I just think it's just so creative and it's so simple. You're filming it. Here we go. We're going to put it on both of our handles and you've got a reel and you're working together. So this is something that is so easy. And I don't know, Mac, I've never done the text, how you can there's got to be some sort of software where you can pretend you're texting somebody.
Oh yeah,
There's
absolutely.
tons. AI can do
Yeah.
it.
hmm
And
Yeah, there's
that's
a
a
lot
really
of
fun way just to like, text even another agency and say, yeah, let's do it.
hmm
Um, it's so simple. This is another seasonal and holiday content. This is San Gabriel. San Gabriel Valley Vector Control is a very small district, but they're small and mighty. And I know you all have probably heard from them or of them. They did the mosquito rap with the 1980s, 80s mosquito. But they they used humor to do bite back gift guide of thoughtful and sustainable gifts for everyone for the biting holiday season, which is like long sleeve clothing. And like I just thought that was
hmm
so creative. It's so easy. And if you go to their website and go through this, they have a whole guide on the biting season and holiday gifts to give someone for the bite back tour that they did, a campaign that they did, which was so creative. Become an advocate kit. We put these together and people can come pick them up. And I know everyone that has worked in public sector and has worked with a neighborhood or people, you don't want to. Some of them said, well, I want to tell my neighbor that they have breeding sources, but I don't know how to, and I don't want to, make them mad. So you can just put this in their mailbox. Is it passive aggressive? Not really. You're just being, a neighborhood advocate. And they really appreciated that. So they didn't have to talk to their neighbor. They could just put that in their mailbox and still be an advocate. So it was a kind of a nice way to kind of be an advocate in the neighborhood, but not be a nuisance neighbor or, I don't want to say a Karen, but you want to
hmm
have a positive effect on your neighborhood. So people appreciated that, and it came with the mosquito source checklist. A checklist is always so good to have, and I know Mac will agree. Like having an infographic or a checklist for the services that you provide to give, your residents is key to communication, and it's just something tangible for them to have too. Oh, so this video. This is a fun video of this is for a library district. And this is something that went viral where this is so fun to get together with your staff and put some fun reels together, but it had a humorous twist to it, and you're going to see why.
It's very meta.
Yes.
Very.
Let's do this! Let's do this! Got it. Let's do this!
I mean, what a way to just because you're waiting for like the cool, video to come through with the books partying on the board and that shows up. I've seen quite a few of those recently, and I just, it's bringing that nice humor, and I just love. It's pretty funny.
And it's one of those cool things. Like as public servants, it's okay to look low budget in ways that you would not want to, perhaps in brand marketing for corporate. But it's so interesting when you are public sector, like that's so relatable. They're trying to do it themselves, get it out there, raise awareness. And
Yeah.
so, and I think it's very meta that they took a step back and said, hey, we want to, absolutely just own that this is where we're at and we're
Yeah.
doing our best and so forth. We have a hand raised,
Oh, and I think
Denise. So
Denise.
yeah, Denise, feel free to unmute yourself and join the conversation. And if you raise your hand on accident,
Sorry, I didn't
no
mean
worries.
to raise my hand, but I just wanted to mention to you that we're in public service. We are not
Mhm.
servants.
Oh,
Yes. Okay.
service.
Thank you.
Yes. Ooh, that's okay.
It's just a,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
just a
Right. You're
better
not
it's a
elected official. Thank you. Thank you for
Yes,
the
it's just a
crisp
better way
terminology.
to phrase it. Yes.
Yes, you're in public service, not public servants, not elected officials in that capacity. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Denise. And
Yeah.
look,
Little
I
quick.
love, I love jump in on this, improve this presentation, share your thoughts and insights. Heather and I love participation.
Yes.
Denise, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, that little twist on words is, that
No, but
little,
that's like really
yeah.
important. Yes. But yeah, in public service is absolutely awesome to be scrappy, in
Yeah.
our opinion.
And let me see.
Let's do this.
Oh, okay, here we go. All right. So make it easy for people to share and create moments. And I think in this next section, I think Mac and I we're going to do some activities. We're going to participate in some activities. And if you want to just put it in the chat, like Mac and I said, or like Mac said, you can raise your hand and really share some of those moments. But we're going to have those activities so you can actually get into action, have something to go home with. And of course, at the end, we're going to, we'd like for you to share those. But talking about like templates, having those ahead of time, hashtags, monthly highlights, community-driven storytelling. And I know in part one, we talked about facts versus storytelling is so important. Telling that story is so much more important than just sharing the facts and making it engaging and wanting people to share those moments with the district and create those together. All right, Mac.
So one of the ways that you can make it personal is with hashtags. And for those of you who are new to like, what are these little things that we're seeing? This started on Twitter back in the day, and then it got popular in other platforms. But what these are tags, and they're called hashtags just because of the hash symbol that precedes them. And it basically makes the entire phrase a keyword. And what's really cool is that you can click on them and see all other posts in this area. And so it's a principle of content management in general to use tags. And anyway, hashtags have become a way to really democratize content publication. And so there are like a couple of examples. Capitalization doesn't matter, but you can use capitalization to improve readability. So what we're looking at here is camel cased things. So camel, it's like the little humps. So you sort of capitalize the different words. And so here we are. We are public works, just helps with readability. But like I said, if you had happened to lowercase it, it would still work the same way. Meet your district. It's another way to encourage smaller agencies and stuff. And we also like there's districts make the difference, which is another like big campaign. Now the thing about this, like the hashtags, is that they are public and you can lose control of them, so anybody can post to them. And so like when you post with an account, usually like a means of identification is like an at sign, like, oh, I'm at this, at that. That's like the profile of the individual user. The tags are wide open, so anyone can use them. They supposedly help with promotion or understanding or even search engine optimization. But if you use too many, then you can get kind of filtered out or shadow banned. Anyway, so there's an art to using them, but using a handful that are popular in your audiences can help. And sometimes if you're trying to do broader campaigns, like I love the fall fixes, summer safety, kind of the bigger, broader ones will grab people who are curious or liking and following other things with those tags. They'll start to see yours. So anyway, it's just another one. Karen has pointed out that popular ones can also attract bots to the comments section. So yeah, you do get yourself a little bit more out there. Oh
Yeah.
boy, bots. And bots are just getting more and more sophisticated as AI continues to level up. There's whole
Yeah.
like bot followers. It was really crazy. There was this example of AI influencers that I saw recently with a campaign where there are these people that are like, yes, and there was like this nutrition person, and then there was this like fitness person, and they were all like not real people, but they had made posts like, here I am at the store, here I am here, I love this brand of yogurt, and they're like not even real, but they are like commenting on people's stuff, making all this intelligent things. They're all researched, but they just have all the time in the world and more computational power than I have, in my brain. So just is the bots kind of begin to enter this world is something we're going to be looking at, and Heather and I are going to be talking to you about more, like how you can stay authentic with your communications. And if bots are going to help promote you and add value added comments, oh well, but it's such a double-edged sword, because I believe that a lot of these networks and social networks have a lot more capability to get rid of bots and AI followers, but it impairs their advertising revenue because it lowers the impressions. And so people are like, nobody wants to be the person to get rid of all their bots and admit that 20% of the users weren't real, So anyway, we'll be keeping an eye on that. I
Definitely.
digress. Heather will keep me on track here.
Yeah.
Yes, we're going to.
But AI is, I mean, it's just such a hot topic. It's
Mhm,
it's really taking over.
mhm. So yes, and so a couple of other examples, and Heather can jump in on this as well. Like we have the Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue. They're in the spotlight. So this is giving shout outs to folks, here. And yeah, I love this. I love the making it personal. I love it's just so hard to hate on something that you see, oh wait, this is my community. I know some of these people. I know where this place is. I drive by it all the way, dropping my kids off from school. That really helps.
Yeah, and I think that spotlight,
Mhm.
if you look more into all of the spotlights, they really have a lot, and they have a lot of newsletters and notices, and I really kind of picked them out because they have so much communication. You can't say that they're not transparent. I mean, you can look on everything, and even legal notice, and um, you know, really notifications about burning and fires and legal fires and wildfire season. So they're really keeping everybody up to date, and then spotlighting their district and their employees to really show that appreciation. So it's a really well-rounded spotlight area with newsletters and notifications. And then I love, libraries usually use monthly recaps to share like book club highlights, new titles, event photos, all the events that libraries have. My local library, I go there all the time. They have so many events. And, to keep up with that and keep up with monthly recaps and new books coming in is always fun to just keep everyone going to the library. Um, Water District's art contest. If you look at the picture below, those were the 2025 student art contest winners. So bright, so colorful. That gets the community involved right there. I mean, if you look at all the art that they're creating, and then they create a contest, I mean, I have to say it's a win-win situation because, okay, this kid likes art. They're going to produce something for us. We're involved in the community, but it's also free. They're making this art because they want to, but it's also benefiting them as well. And I think it's a great way to dive into your community and have them participate in your district. That humanizes your district right there. Art contests, I think, are a great way for all ages to participate. And we had one, the board members loved it. They had us at the board meeting. We invited them and their parents. The parents were so supportive. It's getting everybody involved. It's a great way to kind of plug into your community. And then Bend Park and Rec, um, which I love Bend, Oregon, by the way, reposts community photos and tagged with their trails um, around their park and rec, and just building that local pride and having a lot of volunteer highlights and showing them on the trails at their events and what Bend Park and Rec is all about. So those are ones that I just wanted to highlight where you can, Google them and see what they're up to and get some ideas, why recreate the wheel? All right, we're going to measurement.
Oh, and then one other thing, like I know even California, they have the video contest.
Yeah.
So successful.
Yeah, video contests they're so easy. Art con
Mhm.
any type of contest to get people involved is a great way.
Cool.
All right.
Okay, cool. And I hope I wasn't just repeating you there, Heather. I cut out for a second with the Wi-Fi.
No,
So
no, you're
if she
fine.
said that as well, hey, a great ideas bear repeating either
No,
way.
I didn't talk about video contests, so you're good.
Okay, okay. Always trying to add some value here, being original. And of course, measurement. so many little micro strategies inside of this too that we can talk about. But you want to track, of course, the engagement. So that's just the likes, the shares, the comments, and you'll see, some some folks, they've got a Facebook page and they have 30 followers and they post something and it gets 5 likes. I still say, like, that is great. And the difference between what gets 8 likes versus 3 likes tells you about what's resonating with a handful of people that are following you. But often your social media is there like a net to catch when a big issue pops up. The fact that you've been there communicating, not being mysterious, not hiding, not, abusing the public funds, that is really, really important. And so, like, the hard part about being a district is when you're doing things well, you're easy to take for granted and people forget you even exist and don't even know you're there. But the moment there is some issue, you install smart water meters that are spying on them, they think, or you have a new, you know, you're expanding or you're buying a new engine or you want a bond measure to go through, then all of a sudden they're up in arms. Well, you fall back to us, say, look, we've been communicating for a long time. And they find it and it sure demystifies, takes the teeth out of those rumors. So anyway, with respect to engagement, give yourself grace as you build. That's very normal and it's fine. And I've seen folks start with 5 to 10 likes per post. And then 3 years later, they're getting 25 to 50 and, it builds. So these things are awesome. Your reach, there's great analytics from the social networks on what kind of reach you're getting. You can watch your growth and total growth over time. So sometimes if you want to bring interesting reports to the board, you could do a year-over-year summary. It's awesome. And if we have extra time at the end or there's questions, I can show some examples of how we've presented reports to people about their social engagement. And then, of course, screenshots, reports, PDF exports. There's lots of great ways you can get those measurements out. Another thing too, if you have specific campaigns, Google Analytics and others all have the ability for tagged campaigns where you can say this is for a specific campaign. So if you do a mailer, like you might have, your district website.org, but then, you can have, don'twaterwaste.com as your campaign site that still will redirect to that page on your main site, but it can log a little tag at the end, like you put a little question mark and you can add a little like shortcode at the end of the URL that will tag that entire experience as having originated from that flyer you passed out, for example. So even if you think things aren't trackable because you might be doing some sidewalk chalk or something really scrappy, those can synergize with your social campaigns and you can track those as an independent source, just like any other referrer. And so anyway, there's some great tools on that. You could ask ChatGPT how to do it. It would walk you through all the steps, but there's lots of resources out there.
Good old ChatGPT, my personal assistant.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, thank goodness mine as well. Like I use it and I'm quite technical and in the weeds on stuff, even programmatically, and it continues to help me. I bounce ideas off of it all the time and get
Yeah.
help correcting or seeing errors.
And even, I remember if someone was there in part one, we talked about QR codes. If you put a QR code on a door hanger or a flyer, anything at an outreach event, if you have that QR code attached to a software, I mean, that tracks everything. It tracks when they're clicking that, where they're going. I mean, that's a great source of measurement, and it's not that expensive if you tie the QR code to a certain software that tracks it. Ooh, the tools.
Mhm. So how many of you use Canva by show of hands
Hmm.
or have tried it? Yep. Handful.
Oh,
Okay.
I've seen a lot of hands. Yep.
Yep. Jill, Aaron. Yeah. Canva, like if you're not a graphic designer, Stephanie's used it as well. Yeah, if you're not a graphic designer, Canva is pretty sweet. Like it can help you whip up stuff and you look like a pro. And you might have that graphic designer friend, you might have others, but like if you don't, or it's, you need to get this out by 5 p.m. and you just finished lunch and you're like, oh crap, what am I gonna do for this? Canva's awesome. So it gives you templates, brand kits, scheduled posts. And if you use these things too, just make sure you write underneath if you're posting this on your website, make sure to put whatever the content is an alternative format, just in case you got a user with disabilities. You definitely want to use these awesome graphical things to capture attention, by all means, especially on social media. Canva. Canva's awesome. Meta Business Suite has like some pretty cool things for scheduling. And then two of my favorite kind of independent ones are Hootsuite. So if you're like, man, I don't want to think about this all year. I want to spend, a whole Monday with a pot of coffee and just get my plan ready. And then I'll jump in if there's extra things. Well, like Hootsuite, Sprout Social, these are awesome for getting your content ready in advance. You can do this with Meta Business Suite, but I don't like because I have to go to each platform and like schedule them. But some of these tools let me do it in one spot. So I can say, okay, here are all the things we're going to have deploy over the course of the year. And you can schedule stuff in advance and say, hey, this is great. So you just kind of set it and forget it, fire and forget. And then it's just out there kind of with some general things, fall safety tips for fire, whatever it might be. You kind of have some themes, you can get them going. And then you can always pause or move those things around if stuff comes up. But then you have a nice pulse of helpful information that you're putting out there.
Yeah. I mean, we would go into Canva, create our own content calendar, push it into Hootsuite, and you can drag and drop everything. And then it gives you a downloadable report for our monthly reports that we had to put in the board, uh, for the board meeting. They
Mhm.
wanted to see, what we were doing on social media, and it gives you such a nice layout report of like impressions, reach, clicks, everything. So it's
Yeah.
a really great tool. Sprout Social, I love. It has a great listening platform, but it's expensive. Pretty
Mhm.
expensive.
Yeah. And here's what they look like. It's a lot of graphs and wild stuff under the hood. And don't be afraid of these systems. Sometimes they look pretty busy and complicated, but if you just kind of sort your way through it, these are all safe to try. Like great thing about software is like nobody gets hurt, especially if just stuff about the district, kind of learning the tools. Feel free to play around, and you can learn a ton. All right. So now that you have the tools, it's action time. So,
Yeah.
defining that story. Now, how do you make sure it's visible? And that's thinking, the combination online and print in person, you name it. There's so many clever ways. I've even seen folks get out at the farmer's market, have a table. If there's things your community is showing up at, go show up there too. Um, if bring a dog, bring other fun things, have contests for kids, whatever it is, that visibility is so important. The consistency, the branding, messaging, the tone, making sure how you communicate is there, that voice, something Heather's so great with. She's always taking stuff that we're writing. She's like, okay, and she'll tune a couple words or like write a new heading for it. It just like pops. It's all exciting. That is really helpful. And you can use ChatGPT for naming stuff or title ideas. It's awesome. Oh, and if you want, this is a little off topic, but ChatGPT, they changed the regulations around humor, so they are now a little bit more spicy. They made it slightly less safe in this sort of free speech absolutist kind of environment that we apparently is the fashion right now. And so it's pretty funny because like there was a time where ChatGPT, if you were like, hey, write a joke about my friend who's bald, it was like, oh, I can't do that. It wanted to stay very safe. But they really, Sam Altman announced, this was like 3 weeks ago, that they were removing uh the safeguards on that. And so you can say roast the Instagram of and then at and then write out the thing. So like you can say roast the Instagram of at MA Clemens, which is mine. And it was brutal. It was like, well, Max Instagram's like a government website from the 90s, functional, but yes, we get you care about users with disabilities, but hey, post a thirst trap or something. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was so funny. And
She's
so it totally
ChatGPT.
roasted me. Oh yeah, but it's like ruthless. And it was we were making jokes, my partner Patrick, they were like, give it what's his Real Housewives one-liner, and then it was like, "My name is Patrick. I set the table and the standards," or something like that. It was like some very silly
Oh,
thing,
I gotta
but
ask
it
it to
is
roast
it
me.
has gotten funny just like in the past 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and so have fun like roasting Instagram handles, have fun other things, get experimental with it about things that might be funny, and then bounce that off your staff, your board members. And you would never think that AI would be funny, but I don't know what's changed in the algorithm recently, but it's pretty hysterical, and they have some good like eye-catching attention or like ways to be like funny and natural that you can consider. Now, some of the ideas that come out are terrible, but I think that like when you're using AI, it's kind of like thrift store shopping. Just gives you a lot of ideas and you might find that diamond in the rough. And if that helps you just freshen things up or even
Yeah.
introduce things you definitely don't want to do, it could be great for an alignment exercise. So
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
then that brings me to strategic, thinking about your audience, thinking about your person, purpose. Like obviously, if there's a wildfire that burns down a bunch of homes, that's not the time to interject humor. But if you are just raising awareness and being proactive, that's like where humor is great.
Definitely.
And I love that. Promoting what makes you human, like like sorry, doing the thing, having the humility to just put yourself out there in public service is awesome.
Yeah. We had one where we were doing behind the scenes and the actual I it with the camera fell into the marsh and we kept it. Like this is us being human. I'm trying to hang a
Mhm.
mosquito trap with the GoPro on and I fell straight in the mud and we kept that. And it's things like that that really, keep you human and add some humor. And we got a lot of hits on that post of me just falling in a marsh.
Mhm.
All right, it's time to make a campaign. So this is where you get out your pencils and paper or your iPad or your little notes on the side. And we're going to do a challenge and answer, make this little mini campaign in a couple minutes. So you're going to create it using prompts. You can actually grab ChatGPT on this too, but it's going to be like a topic, the campaign name, your audience, channels that you want to use it for, either like a newsletter, flyer, event. It could be all of the above, have a key message, and then a first post idea. So the first post to launch your campaign is something that you always need. We're launching this campaign, and here's what's going to happen during the campaign. And Mac and I gave you an example below, and the topic is emergency preparedness during wildfire season. And the campaign name is Pack It and Protect. And come up with a good slogan, something catchy. San Gabriel Vector Control, I told you had the Bite Back campaign. That was so catchy, and that caught on like just like a wildfire. And I'm like I'm talking about fires. Um, and the audience is going to be families in rural fire zones that really need to leave fast because that fire is going to come to them first.
Mhm.
You're going to put it on social or a newsletter. And then you have that key message. Being prepared isn't panic, it's protection. A go bag today can save lives tomorrow. That's huge. Just that one nice key message that drips back into what the campaign is about. And then
Mhm.
first post idea, fire season is coming. Do you have your go bag ready? And remember to name things like, do you have your go bag ready? Do you have your bite back,
Mhm.
protection kit ready for biting season?
Mhm.
Start with those 5 must-haves. Have a
Mhm.
list, that little checklist again can come through. Have a checklist for them to be safe and what they should pack.
Mhm.
What are the main
Mhm.
things that they should pack to get ready for fire season?
And I personally love a catchword. So sometimes you want to explain everything and not use any kind of terminology, but sometimes a little bit of a catchword
Mm,
that can kind of be figured out in context, but it's like a word that people can use, like go bag. That's perfect. It's like, wait, what's a go bag? Okay, I think I know what a go bag is, but it creates a little curiosity around it too.
mhm.
So you don't always have to explain everything in detail. Right in that first message, you could put it in the second paragraph of the post,
Yeah.
but
And I'm
those
thinking
can
too,
sometimes get attention.
oh, yeah, for sure. And I think the campaign name maybe it would be like maybe pack it, protect it. So it's more like a
Hmm.
boom, 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 boom. Or I'd like
Hmm.
things in
Mm.
threes, you know?
Yep.
Um, so yeah, getting that catchy thing and naming things that go with it, to plug it in. All right,
Hmm.
so we're gonna take a couple of minutes, and if we would love people to share their little mini campaign, if you'd like to share, you can either raise your hand or put it in the chat, and we can go. Mac, you want to go through some of those?
Heck yeah. I want to see some of
Yeah,
these ideas.
I want to see
As
the
long as you've got time,
creativity
Heather.
coming.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll shut up for a second so you can think, and then we'll be back in 1 minute. Cue the Jeopardy music. We'll be right back. All right, we're back.
Okay.
All right, George, give me
Ooh.
your first step. George, I'm going to allow you to talk and feature you. Here we go. Will you have a second? Unmute
All
and go.
right. Well, I just went on to Gemini and pulled up, asked
Yes.
them, okay, give me a campaign um, for Parks and Recs. That's our district, and it
Okay.
came up some good ones. Gave us
Ooh, what's your favorite?
one was just find your fun was the theme
Ooh,
there.
find your fun.
I like
That's
that.
awesome. Yeah, yeah.
So and we with us doing Parks and Recs, we got sports, fitness
Mhm.
classes, uh, art workshops, hiking trails, our swimming pool. We're not really tied in with our community garden, so that'd be not for us. But I mean, they got some good ones, and they say go get testimonials featuring photos and stories of community members enjoying various programs. A
Yep.
day in the park photo contest. Have
Mhm.
people share those pictures. Interactive online calendar so people can
Yeah.
find and register for different programs real easy. And then pop up Parks and Recs events. So we do some
Yes.
small scale stuff that just, hey, we're going to be over here at this time. Boom, 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 come
Mhm.
see us. So
George, that's
that was
brilliant. And one thing you can do if you want to just go in a layer deeper is, and this is more like advanced than this exercise, but if you think about your audiences and like what they come in for and really like the subsegments of that. I've had one park and rec district share with me that I asked them, what is your purpose? Why do you exist? And one of the things that they said is like a potential user story is like, we want empty nesters to find a new sense of purpose and community. It was like so specific to like, there's a particular age group in our community that doesn't really know what to do. And like, they need to find their fun, for example. So if you feed into those prompts to Gemini or whatever else, like, hey, we tend to have a big cluster of folks that are these ages or speak these languages or live in this community. And here's what we know about them. That can be huge. I know that like park and rec districts that have large Spanish speaking populations, more from South America, like influx, they created a soccer program, like a street soccer program. It was huge. And so you just kind of think about like cultural influences and others in your community that may weigh into programs that could be novel and helpful. That's another way to just be that much more effective in your advertising and the images you select. George, thank you so much.
I think George found his new campaign for the summer.
Yeah. Find your fun. Like,
I
man, going
love
into
that.
summer, that is so good. All right, let's get another volunteer from a different type of district. And if you'd just like to share in chat too, maybe you don't want to be featured today, that's fine as well. All right,
Oh, we got
Bob, we're gonna.
Bob.
All right, Bob, you're ready to go.
Okay, so what you got up here on this make a campaign, because I'm a rural fire district, is like perfect for, an opening shot for, the fire season coming up, because there's been a lot of discussion and about federal cutbacks in fire protection, and is the state gonna, state of Oregon now is talking about using the kicker for fire protection.
Mm.
And to speak to our constituents in our small fire district, a lot of which is in the WUI, the urban interface. This kind of a campaign is perfect, because I'm thinking of a specific subdivision that we've got fire evacuation routes and stuff like that, but to really get the word out to people about the go bag kind of a thing, because you don't have time to be sorting through shit when you got to go because of fire, as seen in Paradise and down south and everything like that. Time is of the essence, and the go bag idea is, I think, a great idea, and something that I think people can wrap their head around a little bit, as opposed to, well, we need to clear a 12-foot space and you need to move your firewood and stuff like that. So a little more targeted, and I think really speaks to the essence of if it hits the fan and you got to leave, you need to do this. So
Yeah, that sense of urgency in an educational way.
yeah.
Bob,
So
you
yeah.
can have this one. Just take a screenshot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Bob, a great giveaway idea, it would be if you could order some bags and ask Heather and Annalise, because they get cheap, awesome stuff all the time
do.
for our conferences. Imagine getting little backpacks and you take 10 of them to your local community event, farmers market, you name it. They give those and you give them out, but you take pictures of them. It has your little logo, but it's like go bag. And you raffle them off or something. Then people take them home and they're like, this is my go bag for emergencies. But then their friends come over and see, what's that? Oh, we're bagging our go bag. It has that kind of viral nature. And then the agreement is to whoever you give it to, they just need to post and tag with that campaign. It comes back to you into your site, and then you could repost it on your feed of people in our community with their go bags. That social proof is incredible.
Yeah, you put a checklist in there.
Yep, and I'm actually boarding my flight to my next thing. I'm doing conferences today, so I'm going to hand this back to Heather to wrap you up today. We're boarding right now. So thank you all so much for joining. I'll be sad to miss the last 5 minutes, but I don't want to miss the flight. So I'll catch you next time on social media. Heather will take you down with some awesome wrap-up information. Thanks,
All right,
everyone.
be safe, Mac.
Okay, will do.
Have a good trip. All right, so and did we have any other person that wanted to share at least one more? I'm looking at some of the. Okay. All right, I think we'll move on, but if anyone wants to share it in the chat, that'd be great. I'm going to talk about, and you can put this in the chat as well, is what's the last great piece of outreach you saw from another agency, or what's something that really stuck to you that said, oh, that agency did this campaign, that was really great, or this was so funny. The one that I've recently seen in the last year or two is That's My Bay. And has anyone ever heard of the That's My Bay? It's from San Diego port, the port of San Diego. If anyone has heard of that, you can just go ahead and raise your hand. No one has. Is everyone still here? Where'd the chat go? Okay. Oh, I love the campy humor of Portland Army Corps. I'm gonna look up that one too. If anyone, has it, I'm gonna look that up too. Same. Okay, we gotta look up the Portland Army Corps. TSA also, theirs is hilarious. Their social media handles. So That's My Bay. They had different characters coming into view and had 30-second segments of all these different characters coming in talking about That's My Bay, stash your trash, and they had a rock star coming in saying stop, something with the drain, Dwayne the Drain. And you can see here, let me get here. The results of the campaign, I put the QR code on the actual document of the development of the campaign from them is exceptional. If you want to just kind of piggyback off their campaign just to see exactly what they did and the development and how they came up with everything, their measurement, all of their impressions and their charts showing pay per click and their social media. They owned this campaign. It's stellar. And you can definitely kind of put that in Chat GBT and just say, hey, download it, PDF. I want to kind of create this campaign for us in Park and Rec. Can you help me develop it? And your board loves seeing this type of measurement. That's what I had 35 board members in my previous when I was director of communications for OC Vector, and they want to see this. They want to see these reports, and it's good to have, especially to state your case that like I need a bigger budget for this campaign because I'm going to do this. So in less than a year, the campaign delivered over 6 million impressions. And you can see the outcome and more people coming together to actually help with the bay. A lot of people, they said when I looked into it, didn't know how polluted um, the San Diego Bay really was and how much they really needed the community to step up and be responsible for their trash. They had like a wrapper, a candy wrapper that wrapped, and it's very creative. But you can see the overview and impact. I just kind of took some that I really thought were important. Was the 6 million impressions in 10 months? That's exceptional um, for any agency. And they actually exceeded their goal. So that's always good when you have a goal and you exceed it. And they were just releasing 30-second videos about pollution prevention, stormwater drain tips, composting, trash. And then they created service days where they engaged with the community and the port staff. And over 180 employees removed over 4,700 pounds of trash. And those numbers, infographics, 6 million impressions, or having that measurement is always so beneficial for your district or agency. And that was across 5 sites, showing that human side of the organization, especially a port. you know I worked with the port of Long Beach, and there's you get a lot of backlash from residents, but if you show them the good that you're doing, and just the results of that campaign were really beneficial for them. And then telling your story through music. I know, I think in part one, this was a music video I really wanted to put together. And this was a regional vector control campaign. I didn't have a big budget because I said here, our district manager, every time she heard, hear me out. If any of you knew Truck Deaver from Greater LA County Vector Control, I just said, I have this idea of this rapper coming in and talking about dumping and draining sources. And we used $100. We used the district, our mobile unit. We used a mosquito costume from San Gabriel Vector Control District. And we came up with this. And I'll show you. Mm, oh, it's not doing it. Oh, I don't know what happened to it. There was a video there. Well, that's underwhelming. I don't know what happened. Okay, well, I'll see what's going on with it, and then we'll move on. So we're going to do another activity. So this is another challenge and answer. So grab the pens and paper, and we're going to do, who are you? Who do you serve? And why does your work matter? And try this with your team. A lot of times we would grab our teams and have a lunch and learn. We said, I know you don't want to do this on your lunch, but let's invite other agencies, other PIOs, other city managers, other blanks, whoever you wanted to invite, and dig through this and have a workshop and really dig into all of these different elements to really promote your district in that light. And then you can post it on your social media. So this is an example of a library district. So who are you? We're the West Wind Library District, a hub of knowledge, connection, and curiosity. So have that nice little, I call it like a little snippet. And then who do you serve? They want to see that. They're going to see those numbers. This information would be perfect on an infographic. We serve 30,000 residents across 3 branches, from preschool readers to lifelong learners. They're showing the demographic. Why does your work matter? Access to information is powerful. We make learning accessible to everyone, regardless of age, income, or zip code. Boom. That's why it matters. Post caption idea. We open doors to imagination, opportunity, and growth. Who are we? Your local library. And then we're bringing in the hashtags. Read local. You can create your own hashtag and then open to all. You can actually look up hashtags or ask ChatGPT what's a popular hashtag for libraries, and they can give you one. But let's look in the chat and see. Oh, thank you for the Portland core. Okay. Oh, Jill, you had one. Here's a comprehensive social campaign, rural business innovators, including key. Oh, that's great. Okay. To amplify the voices of rural entrepreneurs, promote equitable access to business resources, and connect innovators in remote areas with funding, mentorship, and digital tools. Boom. That's a great campaign. Rural Rise. I think that's your next campaign. That's a great campaign title. Rural Rise. Jill, I'm liking that. Okay. So if anyone has any of those examples, you can just write this down for your staff to have later on. And then empowering the team. So giving staff a clear guidance and ownership. We had a large team, and it's always good to ask people, what's your idea? Let's brainstorm. Let's have that lunch and learn and think about, the next 6 months, and create a content calendar and look at what services we want to highlight and which staff. And let's create a campaign around this season or around this service or this demographic we're not reaching. Things like that. And creating shared content bank. We always had a shared Google Drive, or we had this thing called a G Drive in our district that our IT team put together, where everything is in that folder: social media content, hashtags, your little communications kit we were talking about. And then encouraging those authentic moments, like you saw that library. It was so funny putting those reels together. And that's really creating that team power, bringing everybody together to create that content. And this is the last slide. So that building that confidence in public facing outreach. So 5 steps: just start small, start safe. Like we said, 1 or 2 platforms if you don't have platforms already, or you want to go or come back. Practice ideas internally with each other, those lunch and learns, putting it all on paper, celebrating wins externally. Did you know that we won this certification? Or, this person, got this certification, this person got promoted. Sharing those wins externally with your public is, once again, that source of truth and transparency. And then reframe mistakes as learning moments. In vector control, there's some things that we've done where we had to come out and say, this happened, we apologize, here's who you can call, and really learning from those moments and owning it and telling your public that you're owning it. And normalizing visibility through consistency. So really being consistent with your message, your voice, your brand. The Port of San Diego, that's my Bay campaign. It's just sparking that creativity. Excuse me. And I'm just going to look at the chat to make sure. Thanks, ChatGPT. Yeah, I love ChatGPT. So I wanted to thank you. Sorry, I had a cough there. If you have any questions, we can do a Q&A right now. And I want to say this was the 2-part series for SDAO. I want to thank SDAO for all the support. Jennifer, you're amazing. We do have a follow-up email that we're going to provide with It will probably have a YouTube link of this actual webinar. I think I started the webinar a little early, so we'll have to edit that or something. Um, and I just realized that. But I think we'll have that email follow up, and then we're also going to provide you with a lot of different visuals that you can use, resources available to you. If you have any questions, of course, email me. If you have a little bit, I think we're a little bit over time, but the videos I was going to show you were two videos that were on a very low budget, but they ended up getting over 60,000 views. You can YouTube mosquito wrap, GLACVCD, or just go to Greater LA Vector Control. That was a big mosquito wrap. K Rock, a large radio station, deemed us like the worst rap of the season, and we took that with pride because they said, but it got in your head. The guy at K Rock said, "This got in my head so much. I'm singing the song." I reached out to Fiverr at OC Vector Control and I said, here's $100. Can you make a song? Hired a graphics person on Fiverr. Again, Fiverr is a great resource to use for kind of, cheaper graphics and, or, just you can get someone pretty cheap to do graphics and voiceovers and put that together for just a really low rate and you can make something great. So if you want ideas on that, also reach out to me to create videos on a really tight budget. I can probably, if you want in the chat, just YouTube mosquito wrapper, I can send it to you. Anyways, do we have any other questions? Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. That was part 2. We will definitely see you soon. And if you have any more questions, just don't hesitate to email us. Appreciate you all.